Welcome to the Rock Fight, where we speak our truth, slay sacred cows, and sometimes agree to disagree. I'm Colin True, and this is part 2 of the pod I recorded with co-host Justin Hausman. If you missed part 1, it's available now, so go back and check out our conversation about Houdini and Patagonia and how much stuff the industry makes. On this episode, Justin offers a review of his new favorite bike, and we get into some outdoor industry and community headlines. But before we get to that, it's the last week of September, which means it's the last week of secondhand September, so you have only one place to go this week, and that's GearTrade.com. Since 1999, GearTrade has been your go-to home for new outdoor gear and apparel, and this week and next week, the Rock Fight will be taking over GearTrade's blog, so head to GearTrade.com right now, shop, learn how to sell your unwanted gear, and bookmark it so you don't miss out on the Rock Fight's GearTrade takeover. All right, let's start the show. Let's we got some other headlines, but I know number one, you were very hip to talk about your new bike. You want to tell us about your new bike? We're planning a bikepacking trip. It got moved to early November. And the important thing is for us, it's still on the calendar. It's going to happen. But in anticipation that you got a new bike, what'd you get?
I did. Well, I got a new version of a bike I already had, which is the Hudski Doggler. And I think Hudski is, if you are a gravel bike person or like a bike packing person, you probably heard of them because bikepacking.com has covered them quite a bit. And the Radovus just had a big article about them. But they make one bike. It's called the Doggler, and you can get it in like 3 different builds. But it's a rigid frame, very like cool looking frame. No fancy crap. Like it has a carbon fork, but that's pretty much it. The higher spec ones comes with like a dropper post. But everything else, I mean, it's just a good, solid bike that you can bike pack on, you can do single track on, you can ride around town. They're just a freaking epic bike. And like I bought the first one when it came out a couple years ago, and they kind of rejiggered the design a little bit. So I just got I sized down a little bit, and this one's a little bit slacker, a little bit more like swoopy on trails. But I'm just so impressed. I'm just so impressed by their bikes.
Well, so there's the gravel. I'm looking at their website, Mountain Tour and City Bike. Which one did you get?
Gravel. The only real difference is the Mountain Tour comes with the 27.5 wheels, but you can buy that wheel set anyway.
So you went 29. Is it 29 or 700?
Yeah, it's 29.
So it's a flat bar. I mean, honestly, it looks like a rigid mountain bike.
Yeah, it kind of is like a rigid mountain bike from like the 90s. It looks like that at first glance, but like the geometry is like very modern. Like the head tube angles, the slackness, the reach, all of that is super modern. There's just something about these bikes. They do a really, really good job. I mean, everything about it is super quality. Like they design their own bars, they make their own bars. They have all these really cool little touches on them. But it's like a bike you trust no matter what. I mean, I end up riding it more often than not lately because I just am kind of getting more into gravel riding. But it's just one of those things where you just feel really good about it. You feel good about them. Like it's two guys. One of them used to work for Specialized. They're like designers by nature, and they're just badass. God, it's just a great freaking bike. Like read the Radovus review.
Okay,
that came out like a couple weeks back. And it basically just says all that same stuff. That it's a bike. It's like when you were a kid and you had one bike and you did everything on it. Like that's this. Like you rode it to school. Maybe you rode it to a dirt jump place. Maybe you went on little adventures with it. Like that's this bike.
I think that's why I like my Surly Straggler. That's the one I'm going to bring on this trip. And the wheels are smaller. You'll probably be faster than me. It looks like a faster bike. But the thing I like about it, I've never been more comfortable on a bike. And no matter where I take it, what I ride, and like if you take it on something that's a little more than the bike can handle, it's like, okay, well, don't go 1,000 miles down this, or just
walk it. That's fine.
Yeah, right. And I'm not the best at controlling the bike. I'll never be like a trials guy. Like Danny McCaskill is a magician. If you ask me, like I don't know how people do stuff like that. But so to that, and with that in mind, like I love the way I feel riding that bike, and it kind of sounds similar to your experience on your Doggler.
Totally. And they're not like, so I got the higher end one that comes with like all mostly SLX stuff is $2,200. I think they're on sale, but like normally it's $2,200, which to me at this point now is a great price. Like that, 5 years ago, that would have been a lot. I mean, there's no moving parts, right? Like there's no suspension anywhere.
Right.
But to me, that's a solid, I mean, the bike, everything on it is great. I mean, the components are wonderful. And now they make a Dior version, which is what I got. and it's like $1,600, and there's no dropper, but it's Dior drivetrain, and then like you start moving down into the non-SLX, non-name branded Shimano brakes, which work just as well. Like
Right.
the MT810s or something, where they don't even bother to give them a name, but they're the same innards as like SLX.
I closed the tab. Is it chromoly steel or is it aluminum?
It's aluminum.
Okay.
With a carbon fork. So it's super light, but there's even then it's it's super compliant. Like they just feel great. They're quiet. They don't make a lot of rattles. They're just smart. And like I don't even think I got this one thinking, well, I have a dropper post lying around. I'll just put a dropper post. I don't even think I'm going to put a dropper post on it. Like it's so clean. The cockpit's so clean with just the two brake cables and a shifter cable. Or brake hoses and a shifter cable. It's just so nice. And like really the only time I use a dropper post on a gravel bike is like if I'm waiting at a stoplight and I just want to like sit lower.
All right, man. Well, it sounds like you're going to be riding the Hudski when we go. I'll
be on the Hudski. Well, either way, I would have been on the other Hudski. Which reminds me, anybody who is looking for, if you like what I just said about the Doggler, I'm about to put mine up on Pink Bike.
Okay.
I would consider shipping, but it's extra large version 1. If you're interested,
myrockfight@gmail.com. Send us an email. I'll put you guys in touch.
Yeah.
So another thing I saw in the news the last couple of weeks I wanted to bring up with you is Chaco is promoting 2 new footwear silhouettes. And we are a Bedrock podcast, and we fully aligned behind them. But it made me think, because Chaco's tried to have boots and shoes for going on like a decade now. I feel like that was early 2010s when they started expanding their line.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, and they have a new Chelsea boot called the Fluff, just kind of a fluffy Chelsea, and then a field boot with a lace. And it's not really newsworthy to be they're adding styles, but it got me thinking about just brands and products. And this goes a little bit back towards the making more stuff. And despite, the need to grow revenue, is a brand like Chaco a good type of case study just for staying in your lane and being who you are? I mean, you almost answer that a little bit to me when you're like, you didn't even know they made shoes. You just think of Chaco as the sandal company. But like the Mountain Clog is an interesting example from Bedrock, because the Mountain Clog to me just feels like a Bedrock. It doesn't feel like we're making shoes now, right? It just feels like, oh, that's a good line expansion.
Yeah.
But when you say Chaco, I think Z-strap river sandals. So I don't know. Like, what do you think about that? Like, if all of a sudden Bedrock started making shoes, would that bother you?
Well, not if there's a reason, I guess. Like maybe these are, maybe the Chaco like last for the sandal like turns into a really good boot. I don't know. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess maybe I'd have to try one. I met before we recorded. We were talking about it, and like I didn't know Keen made boots really until recently. Like I always thought of them as the goofy sandal brand, and I guess had like gun to my head, I might have mentioned that I may have seen like an actual hiking shoe somewhere, but honestly, not really. And I don't know who. I mean, it's interesting. Like Keen has never reached out to like me ever about like testing any of their stuff. So they have a different marketing plan than most of the outdoor brands out there. But anyway, like I didn't know they had a full suite of like badass work boots and stuff that apparently are fantastic. So it'd be easy to be like, why are they doing that? That's stupid. But it turns out there's like a giant legion of like hardcore like oil rig bros who love Keen boots, So like maybe Chaco's got the same program going on.
So I could follow the tea leaves there, right? Because Keen becomes known for a big toe bumper, and it's almost a protective thing, and you can kind of follow that logic. I think like I mentioned, the Mountain Clog looks like a all season Bedrock. It's like, let's just cover your toes and give you a little bit more versatility here. I think it's the fact that it's like a Chelsea boot. It's like, well, if I think Chelsea boot, I'm not thinking Chaco. It's like, okay, right. Chaco make other things, but what's the natural extension of Chaco? I don't know. I just kind of wasn't.
I agree. I also don't own a business, but if I did, well, not really anyway. And if I did, I would make 1 or 2 things, and I wouldn't hire anybody, and I would just make what I needed to make from that. So, like, that's the thing. I think we've really probably figured it out earlier.
Yeah,
when we were talking about these brands making so much stuff. They have giant ecosystems they have to support at a certain point.
Right.
But I just wouldn't do that. I mean, there are plenty of like little tiny brands where it's like a few people making the same thing, and they've been doing that for a long time, and they do just fine. That would be what I would do.
Right.
So like, if I had a brand, you wouldn't have heard of it unless you lived probably near where I am. Like that would, so like you wouldn't be wondering why is he making all this other stuff? Because I would make like the same couple things.
Well, that's your dream, man. That's your little locals only dream, right? It's like the
Kinda.
surf localism for outdoor apparel.
It's not even that. It's more, well, partially, honestly, like the little cottage industry that like reflects where I live in Marin. I mean, that's awesome. But also at the same time, it's like, why, you make enough money to like not have to do much else. Why would you want to like make more sandals to sell more, to work harder at it when you could have just been fine with the Z-strap Chacos that you probably started 30 years ago in Santa Fe or wherever the hell they're from.
Yeah, the Paonia, Colorado. I think that's where they're from originally. It is interesting, these sort of legacy, the term legacy media company gets thrown around, these legacy outdoor brands who came up in the age of, we're going to be the next billion-dollar outdoor brand or get acquired for some huge amount. What are the next brands going to be? I think they're probably going to be more in line with what you're describing. Well, moving into some more community news, there was a couple of articles that you bounced over in the last week or so that were pretty interesting. There's an American researcher in Istanbul. Rescuers pulled him out of a cave where he fell seriously ill and became trapped 1,000 meters, which is more than 3,000 feet, below its entrance over a week, which sounds completely harrowing. The thing that I kind of zeroed in on was that he fell ill with stomach bleeding. Which I dug into this a bunch. I don't think it's related to his I think he just got some really messed up gastrointestinal things going on anyway that just happened to like get really bad while 3,000 feet below the surface of the earth. Well, that's what it was. Oddly, it was like not he broke his leg or whatever. It's kind of like, if you're prone to this, why are you going so far into the earth? I guess is my question.
Or maybe is there some kind of like reverse elevation? Like if you get too low.
Oh, I see what you're saying. You're thinking that him going down there caused it?
I mean, I guess I'm claustrophobic, so that's probably part of it. But like the whole caving thing to me is like, I've seen some cool pictures. We did a cool portrait or portfolio series in AJ a couple issues back, where this guy that does these absolutely spectacular cave photos. Mm-hmm. But I just have never understood that, man.
That was the next thing I was going to say. It's just one of those, a lot of times people will say, like, even the things that you and I like to do, like, oh, I could never, or I would never. Why would you want to do that? And it just seems so obvious why you'd want to do these things. Spelunking and caving, I guess you could do the thing. You ever see like the pictures where it's the big open cave and someone's like doing a free rappel down into it?
That's exactly what I was thinking of with the photos. Yeah.
Yeah. That might be kind of fun, but to go in these tight little crevices, man, like no way.
I guess this guy, his fiance was with him, by the way, this caver guy or whatever. So how gnarly is that? Just like he some of the interviews he talked about how he thought he was going to die and then thought maybe he'd be okay and then was sure he was going to die. Like, he had these back and forth like a bunch of times. All the pictures that you see of him out of it, he's like laying in a stretcher and it doesn't matter what the angle is. You can see this giant smile. Like he's just so stoked to not be down there anymore.
We had a handful of, this is also from earlier this month, a handful of wildlife enthusiasts were probably hoping to catch a glimpse of Katmai National Park's famous brown bears when they logged on to a live stream of a remote Alaska mountaintop last Tuesday, again earlier this month. But the resident celebrities were nowhere to be seen when a distressed hiker walked into view and instead pleaded for help. And I'm really glad this guy's okay. They went out 3 hours later and they got this guy. He was having a tough time. I'm honestly jealous that I wasn't one of the people who turned on the webcam just to see this dude like tapping on it. Dude. Like, hey.
Well, you know what's amazing is I was thinking about this. Like, I don't think I would have occurred to me that was real or that I should do something about that. Like, if I was watching that and I saw that happen, I think I'd be like, who's this? This is
Joker.
This isn't funny. Anyway, back to Twitter.
Or this is the guy fixing the camera that's obviously broken because there's a guy on it.
That would be good, right? Like I don't think it would have occurred to me to call the cops or whatever that version is. Call the Rangers. Like I don't. Or what did they even do? What did they do?
This is a big check in the old technology column. Like I said, you being a tech hater, you probably would have been stoked if this guy just died. Like nope. You got to figure it out, dude.
But what did they even do? I didn't read enough. Like, who did they call? Did they just put a comment on the YouTube stream? Hey, there's a guy.
So what did they do? Yeah, so they said there's someone distressed on the camera. One viewer posted in the rolling comments beneath the stream. That message was seen by a volunteer chat moderator.
Wow.
Who turned it, which is awesome. Then they turned it into a ranger And then they reviewed the footage. It's amazing it only took 3 hours. Because if you think about that, because, I mean, who wouldn't have the reaction like you just described? Like, oh, there's just some guy out there. You know, like, that's fine.
There was one part of the story that I read, and that annoyed me. And it's funny because it's like, I don't have any idea what actually happened, but immediately I became annoyed because it was like when they found him, he was kind of far away from the camera. I was like, you fucking dipshit. Oh,
I would have camped out there. I would have gotten naked. You know what I mean? I just would have like anything. Like, please.
I don't know why that bothered me, but I'm just like picturing some guy just like wandering off. Like, oh, now what? You know, it's like, how would he know? He had no idea if it was on. But still, in my head, I was annoyed. It's like, don't make them find you. They're already like, just...
He's playing hide and seek with his life. He's just like, I'm going to go over here now.
Like, what if they do? They get there. Oh, he's gone.
You ever watch any of those live, like, if you go on YouTube and they have like those wildlife live feeds?
We always cover like Fat Bear Week at Adventure Journal, and and I don't really think of it until that happens. Right. Actually, when is that already happened? Soon. It's got to be soon. Yeah. And I'll have that Brooks River, whatever, the one with all the bears like chill in that like little waterfall. I'll have that on in the background all the time.
That's great.
It's really fun.
All right, man. Well, I think that's all we got for today. But I want to ask our audience, before you move on to that next podcast or shut down your phone, please follow or subscribe to The Rock Fight and rate us, maybe a 5-star rating.
Can you do 6?
6 stars if they got it.
6-star?
I always hated asking that. I just felt like, because I almost never do that when somebody asks me to do that on YouTube or podcasts, but it really does actually help out the show. It helps grow the show. So it'd be awesome.
And we don't need people going, you know, I'm going to go 4 stars because really they're not quite. Just give us 5 stars.
Come on, give us 5.
Just give us that 5th star.
But we'll be back next week with more outdoor ideas that aim for your head. You got anything else you want to plug, or anything going on in AJ going on this week that you want to throw out there?
My boss is on vacation, so he's having a really good time, and I'm doing an excellent job manning the fort while he's gone. But AJ's on a little bit of a fallow period while the boss is on vacation.
There you go. All right. Well, so go to adventure-journal.com to read about Justin's trail experience that he told us about earlier in the episode. And we'll get out of here. So The Rock Fight's a production of Rock Fight LLC. For Justin Hausman, I'm Colin True. And here to take us out, as always, is Less Than Jake's Krista Makes with the Rock Fight fight song. We'll see you next time, Rock Fighters. Rock Fight!